Hello and welcome to our second video about the post-classical period. This video is focused on the expansion of Islam, which is one of the most exciting topics in the post-classical period. We're going to get to how it started, how it continued, the mystery behind the Sunni-Shia split. So lots of exciting things going on today. Just to start you off here, our background right now is a page from what's called the Blue Quran. It's a really cool early Abbasid version of the Quran with beautiful calligraphy painted with gold ink on blue paper, and it was probably made in Tunisia during the Abbasid period. So just to give you an idea of some of the beautiful things that were created by the early Islamic states. But let's go back in time a little bit and look at how the Islamic states began. This is the Umayyad Caliphate, the first serious Islamic state, one of the largest empires ever, at its largest extent. And let's try to figure out how the Umayyad Caliphate gets to this size in a little bit more than 100 years. So to understand Islam, we have to go to where Islam began, which is the Arabian Peninsula. And the geography of the Arabian Peninsula is varied, but large portions, especially this part in the middle, look something like this. You have seas of sand dunes, desert conditions, low precipitation, and for thousands of years, the people who have lived there have lived a nomadic lifestyle, a trading lifestyle, a herding lifestyle, and many of them are called Bedouins. And this is an old picture of a Bedouin camp. And they have a really ancient culture. I think there's good evidence that people living like the Bedouins lived as much as 10,000 years ago. Definitely in the time of the Bible, there were many people who lived like the Bedouins. In fact, many of the people in the Bible might qualify for that kind of living style. And it was this culture that was thriving at the time of Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, the founder of Islam, at the time of Muhammad's life. But he arguably was not a Bedouin. He grew up, spent most of his early life in this city, which was called Mecca. This is a modern version of Mecca. This is what Mecca looks like now. And this is where Muhammad had his start. This box, which is now the focus of the holy pilgrimage or the Hajj of Islam, was probably originally a Bedouin holy site. And Muhammad, as he gained power, gained followers, spread his version of the word of Allah, the word of God, he, in his eventual triumphal return to his home city of Mecca, he cleared out this box, the Kaaba, and made that a holy place not of the original Bedouin religion, but of his religion of Islam. And by 632, Muhammad had managed to unite many of the Bedouin tribes into, under his new religion, into some form of statehood, and controlled this area listed in blue. United under Muhammad and under his immediate successor Abu Bakr, these people had enormous military success against the people near them. And you can see these red lines spread out, and very quickly, in about 30 years, by 661, they controlled all of this area in green, making huge victories against the Byzantine Empire, which was left of the Roman Empire, and against the Persian Empire, which was the Sassanid Empire at that time. But there were difficulties as well, because people couldn't agree on who the proper successor to Muhammad was. And that difficulty, that difference, played itself out in battles like the Battle of Siffin, and also led to the modern Sunni-Shia split. So let's take a break from this and talk a little bit about how that worked. This is a succession chart. It shows who gained power after the death of the Prophet Muhammad. First was Abu Bakr, who most people agreed was a worthy successor to Muhammad. Some people thought that Ali, who was Muhammad's son-in-law, should have been the successor, but even they agreed that Abu Bakr was close to Muhammad and had a lot of history. He had been there, one of the first early converts to Islam. However, the successor to Abu Bakr was Umar, and Umar was part of the Umayyad clan, who had initially opposed Muhammad. And so when he became the second caliph, many people, especially the supporters of Ali, were upset. Their problems continued when Umar was succeeded by Uthman, who was also part of the Umayyad clan. But when Uthman was murdered, the supporters of Ali pushed him forward as the next caliph, and they named him caliph. Ali defended himself at the Battle of Siffin, and even though he had the chance to win, he engaged in peace talks instead. But within a year after the peace talks, Ali himself was murdered, and the Umayyad, the supporters of Umar and Uthman, put forward a new caliph. That set the division in Islam that would continue for the rest of history. The people who supported Ali and his son Hassan became the Shia, or the Shiite, and they are now 15% of the modern population. Whereas the people who supported Umar and Uthman, they became the Sunni, who are 85% of the modern population. Not only that, but both of the early Muslim caliphates, the Umayyad Caliphate and the Abbasid Caliphate, were both dominated by Sunni leaders. So this should give you a basic understanding of how the Sunni and Shia split began and should help you in preparing for your debate or blog. After the Battle of Siffin and the death of Ali, the people and warriors of Islam were reunited under the new Sunni Umayyad leadership. And under that leadership, they continued to expand. And by 750, the Umayyad Caliphate controlled all of this land, including what is now Spain and Portugal, much of North Africa, and all the way to the Indus River in Pakistan. This is an incredible empire created in a very short period of time. And it really speaks to the power of the united Bedouin tribes from Arabia, but also to the power of the new religion and how quickly they managed to dominate such a large area. However, the Umayyad Caliphate could not stick around. In their expansion, they had shared a lot of the wealth that they gained from conquering with their warriors. But as time went on, they kept more and more of it for themselves, and some of their warriors were not so happy with that practice. A group of them, especially from these circled areas, rebelled against the Umayyad Caliphate. They called themselves the Abbasid, conquered the old caliphate, and created a new caliphate for themselves. And the Abbasid Caliphate was an amazing time of scientific and artistic exploration and development. They made their capital in what is modern Baghdad and developed what's called the Round City, a city with round walls around which it sprawled out and was really a center, possibly the center of the world in the early post-classical period. They managed to create incredible artistic and scientific works. And at this time, even outside of the Abbasid Caliphate, Islamic culture was spreading and developing. In Spain, some of the successors to the Umayyads continued. And in Cordoba, they built one of the most beautiful mosques and one of the most beautiful buildings in history. So that's it for this video. I hope it gives you a basic introduction to the introduction and spread of Islam, but there's so much going on here, and I hope that you explore it more on your own. Thank you very much.